Chapter 16. An abandoned theatre. The wind was wailing through the empty streets like restless, tormented spirits, singing an out-of-tune lullaby to a city which had the appearance of already being fast asleep. A silvery glow from the celestial spectacle above them revealed the dim outlines of buildings that would otherwise be hidden in the dark. The silhouettes were the only sign that gave Raven and his team the affirmation they had indeed entered a grand city. Not a single building was lit. There weren't even torchlights or lanterns illuminating the cobbled streets either. Doriva was still. Unnaturally still. For a settlement that was supposed to be bigger than any city in Onira, Aspera, or Moralis, and home to over 60,000 people, such stillness shouldn't be close to possible. Even in a sparsely populated place like Serenity Hills, which only a few thousand people called home, there would be a feeble humming of various activities until the deepest hour of the night. Plumes of smoke would rise up from chimneys to form a blanket over the slumbering settlement. Warmth from burning hearths would be felt radiating through the colourful riverstone walls of the cosy cottages. Symphonies of snores, moans and groans would be conducted for a private audience behind locked doors. Guards would be patrolling the streets to ensure the peace of the night. Doriva had none of that. It was an abandoned theatre that had showcased its final performance. Only the residual smell of bodily fluids and alcohol betrayed the notion that the city had enjoyed the company of people at one point in time. Raven and his team were trotting through the city, going from one shadow to the next. They tried to tread as lightly as they possibly could, but their boots were clobbering the cobbles like miners down a quarry. Each step they took bounced back twice as loud, amplified by the reverberation of the empty street. The constant reminder of their own presence made Raven apprehensive to continue exploring the city in the same manner. Sooner or later, someone was bound to notice them, if there was anyone left in Doriva at all. Not wanting to risk exposure, he and his team slipped into a narrow alleyway and ducked down behind a stack of crates. He put a finger to his lips and motioned his team to stick their heads together in a crouched huddle. He waited for a moment until he was absolutely sure no one else was anywhere near them.
"I can't be the only one who was creeped the fuck out,"
he whispered sharply. Tiny clouds were leaving his mouth as he spoke.
"Something is seriously wrong with this place."
"Yeah, no shit,"
Peyton grumbled.
"Ain't ne'er seen nothing like this. The fuck they all at?"
"What's the plan, Lieutenant?"
Jada asked, calm as always.
"I can't imagine you and the Lord Captain have discussed such a scenario."
"We haven't. Not at length, anyway."
Raven bit his lip and imagined what Cato would do in a situation like this. It was his first time leading a team, and he was determined to succeed, having made a promise not to let his lord down.
"Nothing's changed,"
he finally said, trying to sound as confident as possible.
"We are expected to survey the city, and that is what we'll do. Let's make sure we're not walking into some kind of trap and send the others a signal when it's safe. Once we reunite with them, Kay will know what to do next. Whether this place is truly empty or not, our goal is still to learn what Saraki is up to."
Peyton scoffed and opened his mouth to say something about their Lord Captain, but Rain intercepted the conversation before he could get a word in.
"They all left in a hurry,"
she said quietly. Everyone turned their puzzled faces to the young blonde.
"What makes you say that?"
Raven asked.
"Well, we have run through a dozen streets since we left the basin. I think we're in an artisan district or something, because along the way I've seen all sorts of stalls displaying their wares. There was one from a potter, a woodcarver, a cooper, a tailor."
"What's your fucking point, Birdie?"
Her fucking point, Peyton, is that no one is dumb enough to shut down their shop without storing their valuable goods first.
Raven winced. Only when he said it out loud did he himself realize what his sister meant. A sudden gust of wind whistling through the narrow alleyway made them all turn silent for a moment. They stared at each other in suspense, waiting for any additional signs of movement that never came.
"So,
Peyton said to undo the silence.
ain't seen no smithy by any chance, have you?"
Raven held a finger against his sister's lips and turned to the weapons expert with an irritated scowl on his face.
"We're not here to shop,"
he snapped.
Yeah, just kidding, right? Ain't no need to get upset, Loot."
"Whatever,"
Raven murmured, failing to see their current set of circumstances as one that allowed jokes to take place.
We need to find a vantage point where we can overlook the city and assess our new situation.
He raised his eyes to the battlements atop the city wall.
Up there,
he said.
We'll have a full view of almost the whole city from that height, I'm sure.
Right, we'll volunteer.
Peyton immediately said with one of his hands raised.
Me and Jade, we got this.
What makes you think we're splitting up?
Well,
No, Peyton is right.
Rain said in a timid voice.
We still need to find a suitable place to meet up with Lord Cato and the rest. The wall is way too conspicuous for all 8 of us to be conferring.
Raven took a deep breath with his eyes closed.
Fine,
he said with great reluctance.
Rain and I will work off the list Kay wrote down and find us a suitable place to meet up.
He deliberately turned to Jada instead of Peyton, mostly because she is higher ranked than the weapons expert, but also because he didn't feel like talking to Peyton at all.
You two head up to the battlements. I want you to stick to the shadows and avoid detection at all costs. If you do come across anyone, do not engage. As far as I'm concerned, we were never even here. Survey the city from above and make note of everything you deem worthy of our attention. Send the others a signal once it's safe enough to do so, and return to us immediately afterward. Remember, no aura. I can't stress that enough, as Kay was fucking adamant about it. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, Lieutenant.
Jada answered dutifully.
hold up just a sec, Lute. How are we supposed to find you, huh? The captain added like a dozen locations to his goddamn list.
And we have already run past 8 of them. The last 4 locations should be pretty close to one another. According to Kay, they aren't too far off from the city square, which should be about 2 miles to the east from here.
What, we're just supposed to scuttle through all of them like a bunch of scabbies then?
Rain started pattering the cobbles with a pebble she just picked up.
Well,
She began, but didn't continue until Raven encouraged her to speak up.
we could use tap codes to communicate. If you send us a signal from the streets, we will respond from wherever we're hiding.
Peyton responded with a guttural sound and spat on the ground.
Don't know no tap codes or what have you.
Well, Master does.
Rain said, and turned to Jada, who confirmed the statement with a nod. Raven also nodded with a wide grin on his face and patted his sister on the back.
That settles it then. We all know what to do.
He paused and gave all of them a serious look.
Be careful out there. If you don't return within 3 hours, we will assume the worst has happened. I shouldn't have to remind you that we entered Doriva unnoticed and uninvited, which means that we are on our own out here. Do not expect a search and rescue operation if you get caught.
Understood, Lieutenant.
Jada said, and gave her partner a slap across the chest.
Come on, Pate, let's go.
Raven waited until the hollow footsteps faded from his hearing range before turning to his little sister. She looked distraught and anxious as she watched her master disappear into the darkness.
How are you holding up, Rain?
I'm fine, Keyback. You don't have to worry about me on top of all your other responsibilities.
She gave him a smile, but it lacked any conviction. Raven frowned. Keyback was a name he hadn't used in a long time, but decided not to bring up the issue. He understood that it was a simple slip of the tongue, and one that was most likely caused by sheer nervousness.
Hey, it's okay to be scared. Kay always says that a certain degree of fear is necessary to maintain sharpness.
He wrapped his arm around her. She was quivering and her skin felt like a sheet of ice.
I promise that no harm will come to you. Ever again.
I am not scared.
She shook off his embrace and stared at him with a fierce defiance.
I'm not a little girl anymore. I don't need your protection. I can take care of myself.
She snapped at him, but immediately softened her stance and gingerly clutched her arm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
It's fine, sis. Let's just look for a safer place to stay. Or at the very least, someplace warmer. It feels like the temperature has dropped below freezing all of the sudden, right?
She nodded, but her face was still filled with remorse.
Keyback?
There it was again, but Raven continued to ignore it.
What's up?
Are you scared?
No.
He said, but didn't elaborate his answer any further. No was all he needed her to hear. He didn't want her to know that he was, in fact, nervous about leading a team for the very first time. He didn't want her to think that he had no idea what he was doing. and he most certainly didn't want her to sense the doubt he was feeling regarding his decision-making. As Cato had told him many times before, doubt precipitates mistakes. He forced himself to believe that splitting up the team was the right thing to do, even though it wasn't his idea to begin with. Jada and Peyton were veterans, with either of them having more experience than him and Cato combined.
Are you ready to ace our mission?
He asked with a face full of confidence. It seemed to rub off on her with immediate effect as she gave him a nod with a newfound determination.
Ready.
Yeah, you are.
He flashed a grin and carefully took a peek around the corner. They stepped out of the alleyway that felt cozy and secure compared to the eerie emptiness of the open street. The silence was so prevalent, it felt as if a third companion were keeping them company as they crept alongside the brick buildings. Fog began to rise from the cold cobblestones, slowly masking the streets in silky white sheets that shrunk their vision to only a couple of yards. Rain could have used her water-weaving abilities to clear out the fog, but understood why Lord Cato had instructed them not to use any aura unless there was absolutely no other choice. If Doriva was in possession of a talented seeker, their presence would be noticed within seconds. Raven stopped walking all of the sudden and pulled Rain with him into the shadows.
Do you hear that?
He said, and knelt down, sharpening his ears for a better hearing. He raised a finger next to his head.
Listen.
Rain crouched next to her brother and lowered her head. Within seconds, she brought it back up with her eyes wide open.
Horses!
They both exclaimed at the same time in a suppressed volume. The excitement was palpable, even though neither of them really understood why. After all, the presence of horses surely meant that their masters were still within the vicinity. But perhaps it was the knowledge that there was still life in the seemingly dead city that gave them a sense of reassurance. And like answering the song of a siren, they carefully drifted toward the sound,